You're right on time for Citizen Sunday Live. Talk to us this news hour. The handles are at O Barrows at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is Citizen Sunday Live and the SMS line is 22422. The highlights.
Nilikuwa naona sometimes dereva ana overtake. So one way or the other, pia nilikuwa na ile fear, but I could not expect kama kutakuwa hivyo.
Another tragic day on the roads. 7 people killed after matatu collided with a lorry at Miasenyi along the Nairobi-Mombasa highway.
And we know that as they try to sell this parastatal without public participation, which is a constitutional requirement, it is simply because somebody somewhere wants a cut.
It was a raw deal. The government's plan to sell Safaricom shares to Vodafone faces backlash, with opposition saying the giant telco has been undervalued. A community holding its ground. Why Ikolomani residents are refusing to give way to a large-scale gold mining company. Murder most foul. Embakasi police probed the gruesome killing of a 12-year-old girl whose body was dumped next to a police station. My name is Olive Burrows and I am joined by Liz Otieno as our sign language interpreter. 7 people were killed in a tragic road accident involving a public service vehicle and a truck in Miasenyi on the Nairobi-Mombasa highway. The crash occurred when the PSV, traveling from Nairobi to Mombasa, collided head-on with a lorry heading in the opposite direction. Preliminary findings indicate that the PSV was attempting to overtake another vehicle at the time of the collision. Francis Mtalaki kicks us off.
This is the scene of the tragic accident in Miasenyi area, Voi constituency, Taita Taveta County, on the busy Nairobi-Mombasa highway. The PSV was en route to Mombasa and was attempting to overtake when it collided head-on with a lorry heading the opposite direction. 7 occupants of the PSV, including the driver, perished on the spot, with those injured rushed to the Moi County Referral Hospital in Voi for treatment.
Nilikuwa naona sometimes dereva ana overtake. So one way or the other, pia nilikuwa na ile fear, but I could not expect kama kutakuwa hivyo. Later on mimi nikalala. Siwezi kueleza ngali ilianguka saa ngapi, ni nini ilifanyika, nilijipata tu nishaumia, siwezi simama, siwezi kuongea.
The matatu operating under Kinatwa Sacco departed Wote town in Makueni on Saturday evening and was bound to the coast. Police arrived at the scene shortly after the accident this morning. Survivors of the crash are recuperating at the Moi Referral Hospital, with some referred to the Coast General Hospital in Mombasa for further treatment.
Patients are stable currently. Some patients had multiple fractures. We stabilized the fractures and referred them to Mombasa respectively. And then also we have 2 discharges, patients who came in and then we reviewed them and we discharged them immediately, and 1 admission in our mail ward. Apart from that, a minor injury for 1 child.
Authorities say Kinatwa Sacco, the operator of the PSV, is cooperating and have urged drivers to exercise caution on the roads during this festive season.
Ni ukeles wa madereva. Wakenya wenzangu, madereva wenzangu, hawa ni gari ndogo, roli, matatu. Mkuwe makini kwenye barabara.
Drive safe, unapeleka watu wa wenyewe. Sasa watu wanaenda sikukuu. Wengine wametoka makazi zao wanaenda live kupatana na watu wao, na itakuwa mbaya sana kama watu watafika makwetu kwa sababu ya ajali.
The accident comes days after the NTSA and the police launched a joint road safety awareness campaign ahead of the festive season, urging road users to observe traffic regulations. Francis Mtalaki, Citizen TV.
The government's plan to sell 6 million Safaricom shares to Vodafone has drawn sharp criticism, with the opposition threatening to challenge the deal in court. Opposition leaders say they will file a formal petition arguing that the proposed sale completely sidelines Kenyans, who are the ultimate owners of the telecom giant. They further claim that the expected proceeds from the transaction fall far short of Safaricom's true market value, describing the deal as unfair and undervalued. Melito Letenges reports.
The government's proposal to sell 15% of Safaricom shares to Vodafone for 244.5 billion shillings to get seed capital to operationalize the National Infrastructure Fund and the National Sovereign Wealth Fund has sparked outrage among opposition leaders. They claim the deal is opaque and designed to benefit a few powerful individuals in government.
Sasa share moja imeuzwa 34 shillings, whereas the real value is 70 to 80 shillings. So the country is losing about 250 billion.
Speaking at Dominion City Church in Kasarani, the leaders said they would move to court to stop the sale, insisting that the government failed to involve Kenyans as required by the Constitution.
And we know that as they try to sell this parastatal without public participation, which is a constitutional requirement, it is simply because somebody somewhere wants a cut.
It's like you have a cow that is high yielder in your home. Hiyo ng'ombe ndio inatoa maziwa, watoto wanakunywa, wewe unakunywa, ingine unauza. Sasa wewe unauza hiyo ng'ombe na una ingine, ati ununue chakula ya siku hiyo.
Similar statements were shared by former budget chair Ndindi Nyoro, who attended church at St. James and All Matthias Cathedral in Murang'a. Nyoro said the sale price of 34 Kenya shillings per share undervalues the company, noting that Safaricom stock traded at 45 Kenya shillings per share in 2021 before its major expansion into Ethiopia.
The people who represented the government in this deal, probably some of them are actually not government employees, and some of them we are not contracted to negotiate on behalf of government. And maybe even those people, there are things they do with the buyers.
We must liberate this country. Sindio? Otherwise, the way things are going, all national institutions are being sold. Everything has gone haywire. Theft, left, right, and center.
On the political front, the leaders announced plans to unite all voices committed to transforming the country, saying ODM is welcome to join the coalition, along with the third force political formation.
Tunasema tunataka the face of Kenya in Nairobi. Na hatutaki ODM iwachwe nje.
Because I see ODM coming to us in a big way. All right? We are progressive voices like Senator Nairobi, Senator Sifuna. We have progressive voices like Babu Owino, member for Embakasi East.
They also criticized the construction of the Rironi-Mau Summit Road, claiming that the cost of the project has been inflated from the initial 150 billion Kenya shillings contract, which was awarded to a consortium of French companies, to a 200 billion Kenya shillings deal, now awarded to a Chinese firm. Melita Oletenges, Citizen TV.
Residents of Ikolomani in Kakamega County are adamant that they will not surrender their only source of livelihood to a large company seeking to mine gold on a massive scale. The community, which faces imminent displacement from the gold-rich belt, warns that they will be left destitute if government plans to relocate them go ahead. Their defiance comes as opposition to the project intensifies on the ground. With more is Brenda Wanga.
Every day without fail, these men enter into the mine shafts of Ikolomani, Kakamega County. With the most basic of tools, they move the earth in search of the gold that lies beneath. It is back-breaking work that involves the youth, the old, men and women. This is life as they have known it for years.
Asubuhi mi huamka mapema around 4 kutafuta riziki. Na hii ndio kazi yetu hii. Hii kienda hakuna penye tutakula.
Hii kazi nilikuwa sina nyumba. Hii kazi imenifanya nimepata nyumba. Nilikuwa watoto wangu hawana mahali pa kulala, walikuwa nalala kwa majirani. Hii kazi imeniwezesha, nimewajengea nyumba. Halafu sisi wenyewe kipato yetu kila siku hatuwezi lala njaa kama hapo mwanzo.
For their trouble, they get grams of the gold. This is what has kept them going for decades, just as it did for their fathers and their fathers before them.
Mimi niko na watoto watatu na nategemea hii kazi kuwasomesha na kuwakulisha, pia bibi ananitegemea.
Hii shamba ni ya mababu. Babu zetu ndio walituachia. Ile gold yenye iko chini pale ndio tunakula kidogo kidogo. Hiyo iko kama storage yetu ya hapa Kolomani. Tunakula kidogo kidogo.
Hatuna makazi, tumekomboa nyumba. Hii kazi ndio inatusaidia kwa ajili ya kulipa hata nyumba, tunategemewa na watoto, kila kitu. Hata hii kazi imefanya uhalifu huko mwingi.
Kwa siku tunaweza uta hata 1,000, 1,500, hata mwingine anaweza ngwe milioni 1. Na sasa vile wanataka tutoke tuende Shakahola, tutapata wapi hiyo pesa?
But now, this source of livelihood is coming under threat. Plans are underway to explore and extract the gold deposits valued at 680 billion shillings that rest under their land. But to get to that trove of wealth, residents have to vacate their homes and their land. They are accusing the government of being insincere in the process of acquiring their land for this purpose.
What is the fate of our artisanal miners? I have said these people have employed thousands of people. These guys are investors in this area. They have their right. Waambiwe, sisi tunaenda hivi.
The resistance to the planned large-scale extraction has already led to fatalities in the area. The residents say they will stay put until an amicable way forward is found. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
The Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale has dismissed claims of the transmission of personal medical data to the United States of America under the newly signed health deal. In a statement on Sunday, Duale said that the agreement only allows for the sharing of aggregate-level data and not unique identifiables, which includes individual medical files. As we'll hear now from Laura Otieno, the government says the deal will run for 7 years.
With increasing concerns over the scope of data to be shared under the Kenya-US Health Cooperation Framework, the government has moved to reassure Kenyans of the integrity of the deal, saying that only aggregate-level data will be shared with the United States government. In a statement, Health CS Aden Duale noted that the framework adheres to the Kenyan constitutional requirement of right to privacy, the Health Act of 2017, as well as the Data Protection Act of 2019. Disparaging allegations of a blanket access to all data collected in health facilities, Duale said the framework allows Kenya to decide what data is collected and why, how it is secured, and who may access it, retaining the government of Kenya's data sovereignty. The response was stemming from a clause in the signed framework which states that the two governments were to negotiate a separate data sharing agreement for the purpose of implementation of the framework. Duale saying that the shared data will include totals, trends, performance indicators, and system uptime, excluding ID numbers, addresses, or individual medical files. The framework has also stipulated a process metric audit system where the government of Kenya will be required to furnish the U.S. government information needed to process metrics in earmarked programs in up to 5% of randomly selected or specific health facilities, clinics, labs, or programs. Under the Kenya-US framework, the U.S. government will pump a total of 208 billion shillings to Kenya health institutions over the next 5 years and another 2 years for additional reporting to allow accountability and regular review. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
We cross the border now into Uganda, where opposition candidate Bobi Wine says he was beaten alongside his aides and supporters by security forces while campaigning in the country's north. In an escalation of violence ahead of the country's presidential election on January the 15th, Wine, a popstar turned politician whose real name is Robert Chagulanyi, is challenging 81-year-old President Yoweri Museveni for the second time after coming second in the last election in 2021. Ayub Abdikadir reports on the campaigns that could prove consequential politically for Uganda and the region.
This is the moment Robert Chagulanyi was sandwiched by Ugandan security forces to block him from addressing a rally in Gulu, where he was planned to address a gazetted one.
Look what they are doing to us.
A trend now deeply rooted where opposition rallies are frequently broken up. And with Wine, the casualties list, including Ugandan music producer and political activist Dan Magic, who forms part of the many artists supporting his presidential bid. And Dan, like Wine, has become a target for security agents coming under assault. And despite the blockade, it was triumphant entry for Wine, who addressed the rally and de-campaigned President Museveni.
He's saying that he's protecting his gain. I want to ask you, the people of Gulu, do you have any gain to protect?
Citizen TV has obtained this video showing Dan confronting a Ugandan police officer, seen in the metal helmet, who threatens to assault him, following a similar incident in 2020, when Dan told him he almost killed him then, 5 years ago. Meanwhile, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni took his campaigns to Kabartole and Fortol Port City, touting his record and talking development. The Saturday campaigns also took Museveni to Kitagwenda, appeasing the fishing community. Rallies unlike those of the opposition protected by the security agencies he commands.
I've not done anything wrong. We are not.
Last week, amid concerns of a shrinking civic space, President Museveni said the internet in Uganda should be government-owned rather than private entities, arguing that the move will prevent overpricing and allow broader access for the public.
Gigabyte or something else, it will come down. It will come down. But the strategy is that the backbone should be owned by the government, not the private people. So if the private people have their own backbone and they make it expensive, you abandon them and you use the government one.
Lobby groups and the opposition in Uganda say the 2017 constitutional change, which scrapped age limit for presidential candidates, effectively grants Museveni a lifetime presidency. And a win for the ex-forest fighter in January 2026 will make him the longest-serving leader in Africa, clocking 44 years, one more than Cameroon's Paul Biya, and two more than former Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. Ayub Abdikadir, Citizen TV.
Back home, a section of Rift Valley members of parliament are demanding that the Wiper Patriotic Front leader, Kalonzo Musyoka, record a statement with the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, and that is over his remarks on the death of former Chief of the Defence Forces, Francis Ogola, describing the comments as politically motivated. The development comes as Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen led another team of Cabinet Secretaries in rallying support for President William Ruto ahead of the 2027 general election. Crispin Otieno has more.
The remarks by Wiper Patriotic Front leader Kalonzo Musyoka over the 2024 death of former Chief of Defence Forces Francis Ogola have sparked anger among section of Rift Valley leaders. Some MPs from the region are now calling on Kalonzo to present himself at the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, to record a statement saying his claims appear laced with political malice.
Na nilikuwa nasikia Kalonzo sasa ati anapiga makelele, oh sijui nani aliua huyu nani anaitwa nani huyu Ogolla, ati sijui Ogolla aliuawa. We want to ask Kalonzo Musyoka, if you have any information that might have led to the death of Mr. Ogolla, please report to the police and DCI, give that explanation. Mtu mwenye aliua akamatwe.
Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka, mimi nimesikia wewe ukisema sijui ilifanyikaje, sijui CDF. I want to challenge you. If you are truly a very honest man, you should not have served as a deputy president, as a vice president of Mheshimiwa Mwai Kibaki. Kwa sababu nyinyi mnajua hiyo kura mukushinda, ndio maana mlienda mkaabishwa usiku.
The leaders who were gathered at Kanui in Baringo North for a church fundraiser also warned Kenyans to be cautious of leaders making incendiary statements that could fuel political tensions. In neighboring Kaptagat, Elgeyo Marakwet County, Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen, together with Energy CS Opiyo Wandayi, led a team of cabinet secretaries in a community sports event aimed at promoting unity in Marakwet. The cabinet secretaries used the event as a platform to rally support for President William Ruto ahead of the 2027 general elections.
Mimi najua kuna challenges mingi ya vijana, lakini where we are going with housing, where we are going with investment on mambo ya investment na mambo ya infrastructure na mambo ya manufacturing itasaidia kuokoa vijana wetu.
Kata kauli tayari. Nyinyi wananchi wa Elgeyo Marakwet, wananchi wa Keio South, mkumbuke ya kwamba sisi wananchi wa kule ng'ambo tuko na deni yenu ya kisiasa.
Wewe Rigiji, ulikuwa unafikiria umeweka kura ya mlima kwa mfuko yako? Watu ya Mbeere North waliongea juu ya watu wote wa mlima ya kwamba kura ya watu ya mlima iko katika mfuko wa William Samoei Ruto.
At both functions, UDA leaders urged unity, particularly among Rift Valley MPs, stressing the importance of cooperation before and after 2027 general elections.
Alafu kuna wengine wakiona mtu mwenye ako na ukakamavu na anajisimamia, hadi sasa wanaanza kutishika, wanataka kupangia kutoa huyo. Mkisikia mtu anakuja hapa kupanga against nyinyi kama mnapenda maklabu mtakuwa hii.
Crispino TNO, Citizen TV.
The government of Benin says it has foiled an attempted coup by members of the West African nation's armed forces. Benin's Interior Minister Alassane Seydu said in a televised address that a small group of soldiers launched a mutiny aimed at destabilizing the state and its institutions, but that loyalist soldiers had been able to, quote, retain control of the situation. Earlier on Sunday, a group of soldiers made a broadcast in which they said they had ousted President Patrice Talon. 14 people, including some of those who stormed the offices of the national TV station, have been arrested in connection with the attempted coup. Detectives from Embakasi and the Nairobi area are investigating the gruesome murder of a 12-year-old grade 7 pupil whose body was found dumped in KAA estate on Saturday morning, 2 days after she went missing. The family of the late Patience Mumbe, who had searched the area desperately, said they learnt about the recovery of the body via Facebook. They later confirmed the identification at the Nairobi funeral home on Sunday evening. Gatete Njoroge has been following the story and brings us the latest.
At KAA Estate in Embakasi, detectives from the local police station, joined by their Nairobi area counterparts, returned to the scene where the body of a 12-year-old girl was discovered on Saturday morning. This time, the officers were conducting a thorough search for additional evidence that could help unravel the circumstances behind the gruesome murder. The body, later identified as that of 12-year-old grade 7 pupil Patience Mumbe, was found tied with a black shoelace across her body, with her hands bound behind her back. Authorities also noted bleeding on her face and private areas, signaling a violent attack.
Mimi ile kitu naweza sema huyo mtoto wangu vile nimemwona ameteswa sana. Na mimi ningetaka tu haki ifanyike kwake tu.
According to the family, Mumbe went missing on Thursday while playing with her siblings at their home in Pipeline Amazon area. This prompted a search mission that saw her mother report her disappearance at Kware police station.
Walikuwa wanacheza, after a few minutes nikamuita. Hakuitika, siblings wake wakaniambia amekimbia, ametoka. Tukamfuatilia na marafiki zangu hatukumpata.
It was not until Sunday afternoon when Mumbe's mother, while checking her phone, saw a Facebook post that reported the discovery of a body in Embakasi area, just about 1 kilometer from Embakasi police station. They rushed to the station where they first identified her clothes before being advised to visit Nairobi Funeral Home.
Tumekuja tumethibitisha tumepata kweli mwili ni hiyo ya mtoto.
Zaambia polisi tu wafuatilie hiyo maneno. At least haki ya mtoto wetu ipatikane.
A post-mortem examination to determine the exact cause of death is scheduled for Monday. Meanwhile, detectives handling the case are reviewing vehicle movements, communications, and nearby CCTV footage as they pursue leads to identify those responsible for the murder. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
My heart goes out to the family. We take a break on Citizen Sunday Live, but here's what you can expect on the other side.
Si tunaishi 5th floor. Kufika hapo 4th floor nikasikia ni kama nataka kwenda choo. Kufika hapo nikaenda tu vizuri, nikateremka. Kufika 3rd floor nikasikia ni kama maji inatoka.
Kenya's preventable preterm deaths continue amid dire hospital shortages. 2 mothers fight to save their surviving twins. Thank you for staying with us on Citizen Sunday Live. Now, as more Kenyans seek financial inclusion to support businesses, especially in the informal sector, table banking is emerging as a reliable and empowering model. In Kakamega County, a group of women has managed to raise up to 500,000 shillings over the past 2 years, providing financial support to families while boosting small businesses in rural areas. Through informal trainings that include bookkeeping and basic financial management, the 12-member group has successfully set up fish ponds and is now planning to diversify their business ventures to increase income and create more opportunities. Robertino has more.
At Eshiakula village in Matungu, Kakamega County, Roslyn Alando arranges her wares. For the last 1 year, Roslyn has been a vendor. Like hundreds of other women at Eshiakula village, Roslyn had been clawed by poverty, the lack of a steady job, engulfing her family under a dark cloud of uncertainty.
Nilianza na nyanya ya kwenda tu kwa soko nahesabiwa 23 ama 12, nikienda kwa soko naanza kuuza 5 ama 11, hivyo tu. Sai nikafika vile mwezi ilifika katikati hivi nikaanza kusonga kidogo.
Hapo nyuma nilikuwa nikitengeneza hiyo alcohol, moto ilikuwa inanimaliza damu. Sawa, pesa nilikuwa nikipata, lakini moto inanimaliza damu kidogo. Maskari ndio hao wanakuja, kazi yako ni mbio.
The Kalibo Women Group was initially a welfare support group for women in Eshiakula village. In 2023, however, they onboarded onto Joyful Women Organization, which offers stable banking support to women's groups in Kenya. Founded by the First Lady, Rachel Ruto, in 2009, the organization has grown to a membership of over 240,000 people across 45 counties.
We mobilize the women, a minimum of 10,
or a maximum of 25, but we first train them how to do it. To me, it is so easy. It has empowered women because like I have said, the interest goes to them at the end of the year.
Today, the monthly session is underway.
Amepeana shilingi 3,000.
Sat under a tree, the leadership takes charge. With utmost transparency, the list is drafted.
3,370.
Some repay their loans in cash, while others use mobile money.
3,500 sijui share leo.
The group currently has a combined share of 500,000 shillings. This money is loaned out to be paid with a 10% interest.
Hii chama imetuleta juu. Sasa hatukimbii, unakaa lakini kazi yako ni kufanya nini? Kuhesabu pesa. Alafu pia school fees, hii pesa tukikopa huwa inatusaidia kulipia watoto school fees.
Apart from individual businesses, the women also have a joint venture of 2 fish ponds alongside a vegetable farm. The money generated from these ventures is also used to increase the shared capital, enabling them to get higher loans. The glowing faces, evidence of how the table banking initiative is uplifting families.
Siku ile walikuwa hata blanketi hakuna. Wanajifunika tu matambara baye. Hata kufaa alikuwa hana nguo. Walasema huyu shoshote naye wachukua na kahaja, lakini saa hii ukiona ako na Filipas kwa miguu ako sawa, anang'ara.
Sasa nimefungua branch 2. Sasa hata mzee pia ako na ile moyo wa kusema nikipata nafanya nini na kuongezea. Kipata kidogo na kuongezea ili tusonge. Lakini akaniambia sasa kuwa na aim ya utafute tu mlango ndio ufanye biashara yako vizuri.
Interest.
In spite of challenges of defaulting, the growth of table banking, especially in the rural parts, ensures financial inclusion that could potentially lead to the growth of more small enterprises that improve livelihoods of Kenyans, many of whom are locked out of formal credit systems. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
Naenda kwa member number 7.
Kenya loses thousands of preterm babies every year, many from preventable causes. Shortages of equipment, space, and weak referral systems in public hospitals leave the smallest newborns fighting for their lives. Skin-to-skin care, commonly known as kangaroo mother care, saves lives, but most hospitals lack designated rooms for mothers to care for their fragile babies. Our health reporter, Emily Chebet, shares the stories of 2 mothers who each lost 1 twin but continue to fight for the surviving child. A powerful call for governments to invest in preterm care.
Behind these walls at Mama Margaret Uhuru Hospital in Kariobangi, Nairobi, tiny babies weighing less than a kilogram are fighting battles their bodies were never meant to face. But many of these battles are made harder not by nature, but by the gaps in the healthcare system. For Jacqueline Achieng Otieno, her 3rd pregnancy lasted only 32 weeks.
Nililala tu, kuamka asubuhi, nikaamka nikashuka kwa kitanda, kushuka kwa kitanda, kusongesha mguu chini, maji ikatoka once. Ikajaa. Sasa ndio nikaita mume wangu nikamuuliza, na hii kama ni mkojo hii si kawaida."
She first sought care at a private hospital in Babadogo and was later referred to Mbagathi County Hospital. Until that moment, Jacqueline had no idea she was carrying twins.
Nikafika Mbagathi kitu saa 10 na dakika kama 10 hivi. Wakaniambia itabidi tukufanyie scan nyingine tena, juu maji bado hiyo wakati maji bado ilikuwa inatoka tu. So pia wakanifanyia scan, wakasema watoto pia bado wako na maji ya kutosha kwa tumbo. Nisiwe na stress, wakaniambia tu niende nikae kwa nyumba.
On the 3rd of November 2025, just 2 weeks after seeking medical help, Jacqueline went into labor. Tragically, she lost one of the twins. Immaculate Akinyi, a first-time mother, shares a painfully similar journey. She delivered preterm twins at just 26 weeks, one weighing 800 grams, the other 900 grams. Sadly, only one of them survived.
Si tunaishi 5th floor. Kufika hapo 4th floor, nikasikia ni kama nataka kwenda choo. Kufika hapo, nikaenda tu vizuri, nikateremka. Kufika 3rd floor, nikasikia ni kama maji inatoka.
A preterm baby is one born before 37 completed weeks of pregnancy, while their mothers face stigma. These babies are fighting simply to survive.
Nikaambiwa niende nione mtoto nashari. Kufika pale nashari. Mimi hata nilishtuka. All my life sijaenda nashari. Mimi nasinga tu nasari. Kufika pale condition ya mtoto hata ungetamani kuona mtoto. Mtoto mwenyewe ni mdogo, vitu amewekewa pia zinakushtua.
The maximum is 16 or 18 babies at one go, because again we don't have enough capacity to handle more than that. Cots we have very few. We have only 7 cots. We have 7 incubators. We have 2 resuscitators.
Preterm babies are Kenya's leading cause of newborn deaths, accounting for 51% of all neonatal mortality. In 2019, Kenya lost thousands of preterm infants, deaths that could have been prevented with basic equipment, trained staff and proper referral systems. Save the Children is supporting health facilities in Makadara and Kamukunji to scale up kangaroo mother care, a simple life-saving approach for premature and low birth weight babies, where a mother or caregiver holds the baby skin to skin on the chest, usually wrapped in a blanket for warmth. This skin-to-skin contact helps keep the baby warm, improves breathing, supports healthy growth and builds a stronger bond between mother and child. But a major challenge persists. Many hospitals still lack adequate space for mothers who depend on this critical care.
We did an assessment and all the public health facilities in these 2 sub-counties didn't have any KMC units. And that meant that once a child is born, a preterm is born or a low birth weight babies, they were forced now, the nurses and the healthcare providers were forced now to refer these babies to a different sub-county or a different hospital. And that causes also, there's an implication cost, and also the quality of service is compromised.
Kangaroo mother care has helped both Jacqueline's and Immaculate surviving babies gain weight and stabilize. But without enough space, trained staff or dedicated KMC rooms, many mothers across Nairobi and other counties are forced to leave the hospital before their babies are fully stable because they cannot practice kangaroo in crowded corridors and shared wards.
Vile alifika 1.2, akatolewa kwa oxygen, nikaambiwa naweza mfanyia kangaroo, namweka kwa kifua, unamtolea manguo zote, pia unatoa za nguo, unamweka hapa kwa kifua, alafu unamfunika vizuri.
As we take care up to 1800 and above grams is when we discharge home. We expect this mother, for the duration she's here, she has gained the experience which she will apply at home, plus the family members.
County governments are now being urged to equip newborn units with incubators, cots, oxygen systems and dedicated kangaroo mother care spaces, because no mother should lose a child simply due to lack of equipment.
In Makadara, we renovated a KMC room for in Makadara Sub-County Hospital as well as Bahati, while in Kamkunji, we went to the Isli Health Center and Pumwani Majengo. So in these facilities, we renovated them and we also equipped them with the CPAP and other equipment that are able to offer, give the nurses an opportunity to offer quality care to the low birth and preterm babies.
I've only been able to train 200 CHPs, 100 from Makadara and 100 from Kamukunji. And those 2 sub-counties have more than 500 CHPs from each sub-county. So it will just be prudent if we can get another external partner or even the national government to provide these CHPs with the basic knowledge, and these problems can be prevented because they are in close contact with members of the community.
Beyond the medical challenges, Mothers of preterm babies face deep stigma, blamed for their early labor or associated with witchcrafts or myths. Majority of them develop mental health issues while some deny their babies.
We have those champions, that a mother who has gone through that process, that they have delivered a premature baby, and they have gone through the process, they have taken care of this baby, and now the baby is big. Some are already in school, they are doing well. So we bring them back to the health facility so that they talk to these mothers.
According to the healthcare providers, preterms are born too soon, but it is never too soon for the government to act and save them. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
On Citizen Planet, vivid monkeys overrun Wamba town in Samburu, a sign of climate change pushing wildlife into human spaces. You're right on time for Citizen Planet. And on a normal day, wild animals like monkeys thrive deep in the forests. But in Samburu County, residents of Wamba Market are now sharing their spaces with them. Locals say the monkeys, once content with scraps from trash bins, are now raiding homes in search of food. Many believe the surging monkey population in the town is driven by food shortages in the forests, a situation blamed on climate change and human activity. Our reporter Susan Ndunda has more on Citizen Planet tonight.
As you enter Wamba Market in Samburu County, you are greeted by sights of vervet monkeys roaming freely, completely unbothered by human presence. The animals, once strictly forest dwellers, have now turned Wamba town into their playground, darting from one roof to another as they forage for food. Away from the bustle of the market is another unsettling scene. Here, monkeys can be seen begging for food at people's homesteads, sometimes even sneaking into kitchens or disturbing patients at the Wamba Mission Hospital. Anderson Kitsao, a resident of Wamba, is counting his losses after monkeys broke into his house and made away with a cake he had prepared for a client.
Shanibebea keki hapo ikiwa ni ya customer 1 kg wakaenda nayo. Keki ilikuwa ya 1600. Nikabidi nika replace na nyingine, nikapika nyingine. Lakini walikuja kuingia kwa plot, wakaingia na juu. Wakabeba keki wakapita nayo na juu. Sasa nilipofika mimi nikapata keki imeenda. Kungangana, unajua wale wakinini kama wanagawana wakienda tu. Sasa sikupata nafasi ya kusaidia hiyo keki, ikaenda tu.
He says the monkeys have grown so accustomed to eating leftovers that they no longer stay in their natural habitat.
Huwa anatokea karibu mara 3 kwa siku. Sana sana mida ya asubuhi hapo, pengine kwa mfano mimi mwenye niko na biashara yangu ya kupika makeki hapo. Nikishatoa vitu zangu hapo nje, unapata ndo wao wamekuja na ni wengi. Wakifika wanaweza beba hata hizo masufuria za nini za kupikia makeki waende nazo.
Mama Margaret, also a resident here, shares the same tale of struggles. The monkeys are turning everyday life into a battle.
Na wakisharudi unakuta mara mingi kwa manyumba usiku wanapika kama saa 12 maanza kusongwa manyumba. Unakuta kila mahali imejaa kelele. Na ukisitasikiwa kuna kitu kama shamba. Unakuta kwamba wameingia ndani. Wanaingia kama kama mbuzi. Unakuta kwamba wamechuna hii, wamechuna kama ni mahindi wamechuna yote, kama ni kunde wametoa mbegu. Wanasitoa mbegu zote, kama ni marago wametoa yote. Kama hakuna chochote kile unaweza panda sasa hapa na usema kwamba utafuna.
The sick in the hospital are not spared either. When she was admitted to the Wamba Mission Hospital, she says monkeys would sneak into the wards through the windows and steal food meant for patients.
Wakati mwingine tulikuwa kule misheni, walikuwa wanakuja, unakuta pesa chakula hata pengine ni mgonjwa ajiwezi. Unakuta kwamba wameingia na wamenyakua ile chakula. Sasa unakuta mgonjwa amekaa tena bila chakula. Maana wakati hata mimi nilikuwa hospitali. Unakuta wakati mwingine wanakuja. Unajua ni binadamu tu wanakuja wanafungua, wanatoa wanaenda.
Siloan Lenkadero, who was born and raised in Samburu, says the monkeys moved into Wamba after their natural habitat was degraded by human activity, a change she believes has also been fueled by the effects of climate change.
Kiangazi yenye ilikuwa kubwa sana. Ndio wanyani wakakosa kenye watakula huko kwa msitu, iliisha, chakula chao ziliisha huko. Ndio maana wakaamua kuja kuitafuta hapo kwa town, kana watu at least ndo wapate ndizi ama chafu kidogo, mandazi. Ndo wakaamua kuja kukaa sana watu.
According to him, the monkeys have now grown so used to living among humans that it will be difficult for them to return to the forests.
Wamekuwa tu kama chokora tu town, kuingia madustbin, kutoa chokora tu. Wakaonja kuna kasukari, ana kuna utamu mahali.
This invasion of varvet monkeys in Wamba town is not just a local headache. It is a warning sign of wider climate change and habitat loss. It highlights the growingly thin line between wildlife and human coexistence, as researchers warn that deforestation remains a major threat to global biodiversity.
Climate change is supposed to have negative impacts through prolonged droughts, heat stress, and that is going to affect the food availability of the food resources for the primates. If that happens, then you find that natural habitats that are supposed to take care of the primates efficiently, they can no longer do that. And the animals will be forced to move to marketplaces where there are garbages.
Recent research shows that rivers in Samburu are drying up, forcing the varvet monkeys to flock into markets and human settlements in search of water.
The rivers are drying, and primates like the brassers, even baboons and varvets are water dependent. If they can't find water in their natural habitats, definitely they will flock in markets, in people's settlements to look for water.
And as residents of Wamba search for a lasting solution, the growing presence of varvet monkeys stands as a clear reflection of how human activities are impacting biodiversity. FC Leopards Julius Masaba's clinical finish lifted AFC Leopards to a 1-0 victory over eternal rivals Gor Mahia in a tense, hard-fought Mashemeji derby at the Nyayo Stadium. Masaba struck in the 26th minute a goal that proved enough to push the 1998 league champions to 6th place on 17 points. Gor Mahia remains second, just 1 point behind defending champions Police FC. In other results, APS Bomet returned to their winning ways with a narrow 1-0 edge over Bandari, while KCB edged Sofapaka by the same scoreline to climb to 8th with 15 points.
Nikasema juu niko na historia sijafungwa na Gor Mahia, itabidi pia tena nitafuta wachezaji wanaweza nisaidia pia nisifungwe. Sasa unaona, na nilikuwa nimeambia mimi sijafungwa, nimedraw zote. Sasa tunatafuta ni ushindi. Na Mungu amenisaidia ushindi, nashukuru sana.
The opponent were aggressive than us. They won majority of the second balls. They were determined. There was, you can see an urgency of the way they played, and this is what we told our guys. Games like that comes with a lot of commitment, and we were not too committed enough, to play. We didn't fight enough to win this game.
Kenya lit up Spain as John Korir and Joycelyn Jepkosgei tore through the streets of Valencia, both smashing personal bests to win the men's and women's marathons on Sunday. Korir, already the Boston King this year, stopped the clock at a scorching 2 hours, 2 minutes and 24 seconds, the 8th fastest men's marathon time ever. Germany's Amanal Petros and Norway's Awet Kebrab could only watch him fly as they settled for second and third. In the women's race, Jepkosgei turned Valencia into her personal stage, blitzing to 2 hours, 14 minutes, obliterating the course record. She held off compatriot and world champion Perez Jepchirchir to claim her biggest win since the 2021 London Marathon. Kenya Aquatics splashed to a grand finish as they wrapped up their 4-day short course championships at Bandari Maritime, a meet that pulled in 48 teams and a sea of talent across multiple disciplines. The final day served up plenty of fire, led by Bandari's own water maestro, Stephen Ndegwa, just 22 years old, who blitzed to gold in the 50-meter backstroke with a sharp new record of 29.14 seconds. Not to be outdone, 13-year-old Nadia Vusha from Torpedo Eldoret lit up the pool, storming to gold in the 100-meter breaststroke with a time of 1 minute, 26.64 seconds, marking her as one to watch. With the event hailed as a success, Kenya Aquatics now shifts focus to next year.
We run the event in 4 days, and which is something that we want to adopt at the National Federation to ensure that all our national competitions are run in a span of between 5 to 4 days, so we give our athletes sufficient time to rest.
Feedback. I'll start. I was astonished to hear Emily Chebet say that 900,000 babies died in 2019 from preterm birth complications. That's an astounding figure. And I didn't know the vervet monkeys like cake so much. Pole sana for losing out on your cake. Let's see what your feedback is. We start with John Musang, 7262. Pole sana to the families who lost their loved ones in a road accident in Taita. The drivers should be careful during this festive season. I agree completely, John. And here we have Frank Orinde, who says, my heart goes out to the family of the young girl tragically killed in Embakasi. The security agencies must move swiftly to ensure the culprits are brought to justice. No parent should ever endure the pain of losing a child to such brutality. It was indeed a heartbreaking story. And we have Babu Michael here, who says, any realization of one mineral or the other anywhere in Kenya shouldn't bring stress and tribulations to the community, but hope and economic freedom. What's happening in Ikolomani is unacceptable. The deaths, injuries, arrests should not be the case. All right, this is Kei Gashima, and he says the story by Laura Otieno is an uplifting one. Awesome to hear Huyo Shosho appreciate that she can afford slippers today, hoping that our wives are seeing what women are doing together. That was a story on Table Banking he's commenting on. And this is It's Kipleting, who says the health deal between the US and Kenya is welcome. This will enhance Kenya's health infrastructure, combat diseases such as HIV, AIDS, malaria, and TB. We should embrace the partnership and stop playing politics with health issues. And here is Katebes K, who says cases of children getting lost and sometimes being found raped and murdered are on the rise, especially in towns and cities. Parents and guardians should be on the lookout. It is indeed a troubling development. And let's conclude with Engineer Lazaro, who says monkey menace in Samburu is a clear sign of human-wildlife conflict because of climate change. Dangerous poisonous snakes could be the next big problem if government fails to control biodiversity. Now that is really scary. So time for myself, Olive Burrows, and Liz Otieno to bid you a good night and a great start to the week ahead.